Hello and welcome to this month's Mapping It Out, the behind the scenes development stream where we talk to the developers of Project DEIOS and get to see where exactly we are and where we're going and what's happening and all those kinds of wonderful, wonderful things. So I'm so excited to see you guys all jumping into the chat already. That's absolutely brilliant. Now, before we go any further, I do have to warn you, I have had internet issues for the last sort of 5 days or so. The technicians were here and they literally left about 10 minutes ago claiming everything is working fine. If the stream drops, please head on over to the Discord server for Dungeon Fog. They will be there. They will be in telling you what's going on. We will get the stream back up and running as fast as possible. The annoying thing about my internet is it drops for about 2 minutes, 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes, and then it's back up again. So if that happens, if I suddenly just do that, then you know, go to Discord, start the chat up there. The devs will all be in chat and you can chat to them whilst we get the stream back up and running. But I mean, let's get on with it. Okay, so August. Has anyone else's August just gone so quickly that it's insane? Maybe it's just me, but August just shot past. It's absolutely crazy. And so lots of things are happening in the Dungeon Fog studios. Lots of things we're going to find out today. We're going to be talking about progress towards Alpha 1. We're going to be talking about timelines. What are the timelines? That critical thing that we're all so excited to hear about. And we're going to get a roadmap on what is happening in the future. What is going to be happening for the next couple of months. That's all coming from Till, of course. And then showcase. It's showcase time. We're going to be looking at what has happened in the last month in terms of developing the demo. And last time we had 5 crashes, if you recall. We had 5 crashes. I'm a betting man sometimes when I know that I'm going to win. And so I'm betting we're not going to have any crashes. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Because that was one of the goals that we're working on, was stability. So we'll see about that. And then time permitting, we get a sneak peek at this week's assets that will be dropping for Dungeon Fog Battle Map. Some really gorgeous stuff there. So that's what we have to look forward to. Now, if you have a question, please put the word question in caps lock. Big bold question in caps lock, and then we can I can see it and then I can ask it to the relevant people. So there we go. That's it. Let's get Till in here. Let's get him to tell us exactly what's going on. Till, how are you doing?
I am giant.
He's giant. What happened?
I don't know.
We were talking beforehand. Suddenly, it moved. It moved. Well, if that's the only technical glitch we have today, I will live with that. There we are. I have brought you down to size. There you are, sir.
Thank you very much.
There you are.
Hello, everyone. I'm doing fine. I'm doing great. I'm looking so forward to this mapping it out because we have so many cool things to show. Also, I would like to know, what are you betting on that the application does not crash? Because I know which buttons to press to make it crash.
Yeah, exactly. That's there you go. Yeah, never make a bet with the man in charge. Never make a bet with a man in charge. I love it. So, Till, we've got a lot to go through today in terms of future projections and timelines and that sort of thing. Shall we get into it? What is the progress? Can you take us through the current progress? And I'm actually going to switch you to a different view.
Wait, before you switch.
Yes.
So just to pick everyone up, because there has been a very productive and a very great discussion on our Discord server about the way we communicate with you as our backers, with you as our pre-order supporters, and I think the point was fair that we're doing a monthly developers stream where we show stuff and where we show the progress, but we're not really giving you something that you can hold on in terms of what does it really mean, where are they heading. Now, you all know that one of the reasons why we're not putting out a specific launch date is simply because we do not know when we are ready and when we feel like this is it, this is what we want to have as alpha launch. However, we took the discussion that happened on Discord, and again, this is community feedback, and this is what I value most, is talking to you and getting your feedback and learning from you. Is we took all of that and said, okay, we understand you, we need to give you more so that you can see where we are, not only by looking at the prototype, but also looking at our projections. We've been discussing several, well, let's say techniques of how we could do that. Should we use a Trello board for that, or should we give access to our Scrum boards where you can see our story planning and our backlog? And I talked to Bodhi, and he said, well, the best way would be to do a monthly updated chart, or several updated charts that we can post alongside with the video and the Kickstarter update. So we are going to, I think today and tomorrow, we're going to work on our account management page, the one that you log in when you have a Project DEIOS account. And there you will find a link to the latest Kickstarter log, the latest developers diary that I monthly publish on Kickstarter, alongside with all the charts I'm going to show you today, and we're going to update them regularly. I feel like this is the best approach that we can take to show you where we are, to show you what's ahead of us, and to show you what we have achieved and how we feel about it. Now, a lot of the things I'm showing to you is very subjective. It's based on the guesses and gut feelings of all the developers, and in combination with the achieved and finished stories in the Scrum board. So again, keep in mind, this is programming, which means things can differ, things can change. But with that said, let me just show you what I'm talking about. So Guy, we need to switch in 3, 2, 1. There you go. I think it was quite okay. Okay, so you're not supposed to be able to read this because I'm going to post this on the Kickstarter update within the next 2 days. You're going to see that in all the details, just briefly to show you what you're looking at. This is the current timeline. Like, this is where we have launched the Kickstarter campaign. This is Alpha 1, and this is when the product is finished. So for Alpha 1, we have several things on our checklist, on our internal checklist that we want to see finished. Then we have things planned for the intermediate update, and then we have all the other stuff. Now, experience has taught us that it doesn't make sense to plan things for Alpha 2 or Beta because they will shift. We will take tasks where we feel like they fit now better than later. We will postpone tasks where we feel like this is complicated, let's do a quicker one first. So this is not like a finished roadmap, but this is what we have here in our office where we look at and feel like, okay, what's coming up for us. Now, in terms
quickly.
Oops, sorry, that was the wrong button.
No, while you're pressing buttons, do you think that you would adjust things based on what people were asking for as well? So if you've got something planned up in front and people on Discord are saying, well, we're really excited about this, or we're really excited about that one. Would you
so if we... Yes, depending again, the question is how high level is the chart and how low level is the request. Like if someone's saying, for example, Keora added a feature. We were talking about assets, and he said, well, it would be really cool if I could have this and that for the asset screen. I'm not going to edit that into the roadmap, but if it's a very high level request, we will definitely edit in there. So the screen I just switched to is showing you, I hope I'm on the right monitor right now. Yeah, right. So this was previously, and this is what we've already achieved and what's left for Alpha 1.
At the moment you're showing us the roadmap.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yes. But for those who have sharp eyes, they might see that some things on the roadmap are now grayed out, like especially here. So the white parts are what's left. Which we assume leaves the question, okay, how far are we in terms of Alpha 1 development? And yes. Probably because I started to play Eve Echoes quite recently, we were suddenly fully into, we need some shield bars and plating bars and things like that. So we created this screen for you, which shows us the alpha progress and open tasks. So where are we in terms of alpha status? How far are we into alpha development right now? And as you can see, We are 60% done with the core development, which will most likely not be 100% at the end because it's going to continuously evolve and change. But we would like to get above 90% core finished before we are feeling that alpha is ready. We are 75% done with the tools we want to implement for Alpha 1, which is lamp masters and props, and I'm going to show you what this means today. UI is 90% done. This is mainly then just fine-tuning, refurbishing, and optimizing for user experience. And integration and deployment is prepped, but isn't finished because we haven't integrated and deployed the installer for you. So this will remain open until we actually deploy the build. It's also, you're going to see, it's also a very small task. So this is not a huge thing. But in terms of where we are looking, when we are talking in our internal dev talks, when we are talking, this is how we see things here internally. So what does this mean if we look at August? I felt like it would be helpful to show you how much progress did we make in this month. And this is what I'm going to continuously update for you whenever we do a mapping it out in the future. You will get the new charts on that. So we've drastically increased the performance and the stability of the editor. We have implemented, this was quite some work and costed us a few days. We had to change the way that our threads, like our interface and renderer is communicating with the database. This is still something that we're working on, but we've switched to Bastion, which is a thread manager or a messenger system. And we have to, like, I would say, a good portion of what we had already written, we had to scrap, remove, and replace with the Bastion implementation, but we are almost done with that now. So we also did some code cleanup, created slimmer code and made it more transparent. And we have worked on the communication with the database, which most likely we will have on every chart for the future, because that is continuous development. For the tools, we've improved our landmass split. We've improved the selection basics. So there are selection basics now implemented. I cannot show them today because the plugin for the interface is not working yet. But whatever we need from a backend terms of selection is ready. Prop brush, we've worked a lot on the prop brush and the textures. The UI is, again, we've worked on the layers, we've worked on the inspector components, so we have brought us to 90% on the UI here. So this is just, again, this is just August, and that leaves us with the following things to do until the end of Alpha 1. So I'm not going through every detail here because you will be able to read that up later in the Kickstarter update. But basically, we still need to do some core fixing to improve stability and performance. Fine tuning. We do have a feeling that we've got the memory leak, but it needs testing to be sure. The renderer needs some optimization. Our undo and redo is still not in there, and our auto-saving needs some improvement, whereas the loading is still not working, so the loading still needs to be implemented. Right, with the tools, again, lamp mass optimization is basically all that's left. Transform lamp masses is something that's coming up this week and next week for us. Also, prop tool, brush properties, and the selection tool will be tackled by Nikita this week. The UI, as I've already said, is almost done. We need the dashboard implementation, the My Maps need some fine tuning, and the inspector and components are a continuous development step. They will stay that way for a long time on this chart. And then it's just the continuous integration, installer, and code signing to release the application to you as Alpha 1. So I asked the team what their experience would be, how much work do they need to put into those things? So in relation to the distribution until Alpha 1 release, and the integration and deployment will only take 5% of the time that we need for it. Tools, well, 30% of the time until Alpha is released will go into tools. Core will be 45%, and UI will be around 20%. Just that you get a better understanding of what is our daily business, where are we working on a daily basis. So if you look at the developer's day, he would spend about 20% on the UI, 45% on the core, 30% on the tools, and only 5% on continuous integration. So now I'm going into the very, let's say, experimental part. This is the prediction part. If we take the velocity we had in August, and we say we keep the velocity, and I'm rather confident that we can keep the velocity, that means that we will be this far finished in September with the core development, which brings us very, very close to the 90% I want it to be. The tools will be almost finished, which is fine. The UI will be definitely finished, and the integration will be, again, this is a very small task, will be finished as well. So although I am still not saying that we are going to launch in September, I would say that end of September, early October is rather possible. I can almost hear my devs shouting at me right now.
So,
but no,
yeah, once again,
I played this through them. Like I didn't attack them now here with something. This is signed off by Andy and Nikita and Jonas and Bodhi. So yeah, I feel like, as you can see, I feel like we're still not going to, it's going to be very uncertain if we're going to finish by the end of September, because there are still things that we cannot anticipate right now. But if we keep the velocity, if we're having such a good month as the August was, then early October is quite certain.
And of course, we will still have the 2-week pre-notice with the website going live, because that's still part of the plan.
So 2 weeks before, again, that remains the same as I said. 2 weeks before we launch Alpha 1, we will launch the new website. So this is still your best indication. So if by the midst of September, suddenly our website changes, you will be like, oh. If it's going to get into the late September, you still know 14 days after the website has changed, the Alpha will launch.
I'm just saying my birthday is at the end of September. I mean, it's, you know, I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I have disappointed so many backers who wrote to me and said, oh, my birthday is then and then, will it be released? And I was like, yeah, probably. And then it didn't happen. So yeah, pick a lot. What do you say? Pick a number.
Pick a number. Join the queue. Oh my goodness. Well, there you go.
Well, it's going to be. Let's say it's going to be a late birthday present for you.
Oh, there we are. No, well, if it's late, then you got to buy me a second thing as well. It's going to be 2 things then.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's the tradition. It's a tradition. It is a tradition now. So there's one question that's come through, which I think it's important to ask now. Is Og Sparks asks, why not give the pre-order users an extra early access, as in letting them have access to something that's as it is now, perhaps, for example? Would that not help in terms of finding even more bugs and opportunities and things for Alpha launch?
Well, like the Kickstarter backers and the pre-orders, if they had like a pre-alpha launch.
Yes, an early access alpha, an early access pre-alpha.
Well, to be honest, I feel like Alpha 1 is the early access.
Right.
Pre-alpha launch, if we say it like that, because usually you have an alpha launch, which is this is early access. Then you have beta, like beta, closed beta, and open beta. So we've already done that with Alpha 1 and Alpha 2. Also, it's right now we're still in the progress of finding things that are just not implemented correctly, where one code line might reference the wrong code line, and we're fixing that, which means your feedback would probably be counterproductive for us, because we would have to support that to some extent, where we still trying to support ourselves at the moment to figure out why is it breaking. And once we are at Alpha 1 launch, we're at a point where it might still break, but it breaks at points that we didn't anticipate anymore, where we thought, wait, that never happened to us. Why did it happen to you? Let's look at that. Let's fix that. So yes, I hope this answers your question.
Absolutely. I think that's a very good space to be in. Also, we don't want to create a precedent, because then Steam will start selling extra early pre-alpha versions of games, and I mean, they're already, it's a disaster. So there's only so much you can do. Another part of that question was, after alpha launches, will pre-order users have uninterrupted access to the software over the course of the development cycle?
Yes. Yes, so the idea is that there is going to be an installer. You will get the installer, you will download it, you will install it. Then the software is on your desktop and is running. This is Alpha 1, especially Alpha 1, the first release, is not tied to server authentication, and is not, that's the only downside, also not auto-updating, which means the first thing we're going to do after Alpha 1 has been released is we're going to implement an auto-updating script, which means that you know that from other software, other games, where you get a notification that a new update is available and download and install it. You don't have to delete the old application and install a new application. You just update the existing application. That's not going to be part of Alpha 1 release, because that would probably add another month of work onto it. But it is going to be one of the first implementations after Alpha 1, because it makes our life easier as well.
Sure, but I mean, obviously you'll be releasing updates which you just manually uninstall the old version, install the new version.
Yes, so you do have the account management website. You're most likely on our Discord or on Twitter, or you have the newsletter. So you will get a notification that says a new version is available, and one of the first versions that you will then get is the one that is in future updating, so that you only need to open the application and get this message directly.
No, perfect. All right, that's I think that's it from the questions. Oh, just on as a side note, I know you said that all of this data is going to be uploaded. Where will it be uploaded?
So for those of you who are Kickstarter backers, you will get a notification, because it will be uploaded as a Kickstarter update to our Project DEIOS Kickstarter project website. For those of you who are pre-orderers, you will get in your account management, it will also be available there, where now the roadmap sits. There will be a link to the latest Kickstarter update and to those charts.
Lovely. Another question, very, very quickly, since we're talking about updates and that sort of thing. Will world created be carried over between versions, or not, between Alpha 1 and Alpha 2?
So hopefully, yes. I can't really promise it. So especially Alpha 1, there's a high chance that the world you're creating, even though saved locally, might have problems opening in the new alpha version. But for Alpha 2, yes, we're definitely aiming for that. I can only repeat myself. We had the same question a lot when we launched Dungeon Fog. We never really had to wipe our Dungeon Fog servers or make maps completely unavailable. But there is a chance, because we're still early in development, which means things might change, especially the data structure of the save file might change. And if we can write a compiler that transforms the old save file into the new save file, perfectly fine. But if the compiling itself, or the I don't know how you call it, the conversion is too difficult in terms of we're spending too much time on just writing a converter for it, then it might be a point where we say, okay, please export your maps and save them as images, but we they will be not compatible with the new version.
Correct. But you would be able to, as you say, you export the image and then you'd be able to bring it back in as a blueprint and
Yes.
redo
Yes.
it. Yeah, so I think that would work. And I'm trying to think now of other map makers that I've used in the past. Yeah, compatibility is sometimes a trick, especially this early in the game. All right, so that's timelines, that's alphas, that's roadmaps, that's pretty much everything that we wanted to talk about in terms of the future. What can you show us now in terms of let's see what you guys have been working on?
Yes. Okay. Let me just make sure that I'm bringing it up. So let me move it over here. Full screen. There you go. Okay. So we've been working on demo one. Let's see. We've been working on several things here, mainly improvements to performance and stability. So I think you might, for those of you who've been watching our streams, I'm pretty sure you will see that we already have a very, very, very high improvement on the performance here. So I can very easily draw here my landmasses. There's almost no delay. You don't feel any loading issues. It's very slick. We have also we've changed a little bit. We're playing around with the way that landmasses are created and flagged or layered here. So what we have changed is now that when you split a landmass, as you can see, it automatically creates a new landmass layer for it. So I can now address those layers separately. And it's not implemented yet, but it's going to find its way into it soon, is that you, when you put them over each other, you can then join them. So that's a way how you can merge landmasses and split landmasses. Am I still there? Are you still there?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just watching intently. I'm
okay. No, I have so many
screens
in my face that I wasn't sure, and I feel like.
No, and also I realized there was a filter, just for those of you that are watching, that we had applied to adjust your skin tone for when you were in the single interview phase. Okay. And I was looking at the map going, but I've seen this demo. I've seen that it's not, the water's not that color. Anyway, so if you were wondering why there was a sudden color shift, that was me. I'm sorry. Sorry, so Till, yes, keep going.
Yes. No, I'm sorry. I just had.
We've gone back.
Yeah. I just had a problem with the map here.
Technically, it doesn't count as a crash, right? Because you closed it.
Yes, I closed it.
Okay. Ha.
I wasn't sure. I had so many windows. I wasn't sure where the window was, and clicking on it didn't respond until I realized I was clicking on the Zoom call.
If you folks knew all of the stuff that was going on in the background in terms of which window is doing what.
Okay, so we've also worked a lot on the prop tools, which means that, first of all, not very exciting, but still exciting for me, is they are now sorted alphabetically, which makes it a lot easier to find all the props. And they are searchable, so I can go for tree. I can pick a specific tree like this one, and let's zoom in a little bit, and start placing it. That's fine. Brushing does work better, although we still have the problem that right now, what we're doing right now is whenever we brush a prop, every change that happens to the map gets communicated to the database and then back communicated to the renderer to output it. Initially, we thought this is a clever concept because every change is automatically saved in the database, but it creates a feelable lag when you draw things. And this is at a point where I feel like this is not really how I want to draw things, because I'm like, my mouse is already here, but the database needs to send back the information, and that takes too long. And the more assets I add, the longer it takes, because the database needs to always communicate back to what I'm doing. So this is currently in the process of reworking, where we are changing the system to, that's why we have Bastion implemented. The idea is that our renderer collects all the changes that you're doing, creates a thread. That thread is ending up in a queue, and on a specific pulse, this queue gets written to the database, which also should be put in sync with our autosave function. And what we need to do is we need to figure out the interval for the pulse. Because if the application would crash, or if you would close the application between those pulses, the changes have not been saved, and that would be bad. That would be a bad idea. So we can definitely, if you close the application, we will warn you and say, hey, you're closing the application. Do you want to save? Yes, click, done. That's perfect. But in case the application crashes, which shouldn't happen, but we plan for the worst case, there should be a good interval where we put those threads into the thread manager. Yes, so that's one of the things that still needs improvement.
And I'm going to jump into that. Have you in terms of implementing that sort of thing? Because I know that there's a couple of ways to do it. A lot of ways, especially when it's this is more sort of script writing software in the old days, but I have seen it on some of the map programs out there where that pulse is based on the number of changes that you've made. So if you put down 100 trees, it might say, all right, well, there've been 100 changes, so now I save. Because you might leave the map open for half an hour and not change anything, you know. So if you were to
so why do you have a pulse that still saves while the map is open? That's absolutely true. Quite frankly, this is in the space where Andy and Nikita are talking, and I feel like I can't really participate in that. It's whatever is best for performance and stability, whether it's on a specific amount of changes, whether it's time-based, I don't know, probably combination. We will see. So, but this is the idea, and also the explanation of why brushing feels still laggy at the moment, which again is going to be addressed quite soon.
Suggestion from the audience might be to make it configurable, so you could choose, does it save every minute or every 5 minutes, or because I suppose it would be based on your personal system at home as well, wouldn't it?
True, yes. Based on the save is not save is basically not system hungry. Like right. it's not pulling on your system requirements that drastically. I will take it into consideration. My first response would be, it feels a little bit like I would put the responsibility onto you, where I say, well, you've made it every 50 minutes. I can't help you. Didn't save. Where this should never be an issue. It's like, it's safe. Whatever I do, when I want to come back, I'm fine if I lost 3 trees, but I'm not fine if I lost 50 minutes of work, especially if it was very detailed work where I was proud of, and I was like, that's the perfect coastline. Oh, now it's gone because I didn't save. That's the idea behind auto saving, to just prevent this user misusage. Yeah, right. Okay, so one of the coolest things I think implemented in this version is we have implemented the randomization for your props. Now, you might know other tools, you might have seen how other tools are approaching that, and I think we did a very clever way of making it easier for you to decide on your randomization. You don't have to create a collection as you do in Dungeon Fog, for example, right now, and then use the collection to draw things. You have the full library available. Sorry, I wanted to do this. You have the full library available, and all you need to do is you need to go and multi-select. What could be cool? What fits a grave? Well, let's take the third grave, and let's take a little grass here. And where are my rocks? Let's take a rock here. So now I have all those things multi-selected. My interface is not showing that to me yet, which we are aware of, and it might not find its way into Alpha 1 release, but eventually your interface should be showing you what you have selected so that you can remember. But now I have all those selected, and when I start brushing, it picks, again, updating, it picks from all the selections. So I can go in and create this rocky, I don't know what it is, let's call it the graveyard. Rocky graveyard. It's also updating on click. And if we're happy with that system, and if you are happy with that system, because your feedback might be, that's bullshit. I want to have a collection, and I just want to have a collection and not pick it personally. We will see based on your feedback, if you like what we're doing here, and if that works out, then we can give you a lot more adjustments, like where you could say the tombstone should be more frequently placed in than the grass. That is, if you have watched our latest stream, the stream beforehand, this is what we've already implemented in the meta information of each asset, where we decided on a rarity level for each asset, but this is something that you can adjust yourself.
Can you zoom in a little bit on that map till you're not? There we go. It just allows us to see. Can we choose some other things as well? Can we try and make a forest of different trees and that sort of thing?
So let's do a mixed forest. So let's take this tree. Let's go back up because they're named conifer. I'm learning so many things.
And then we need to put something in there that'll be quite striking.
Yeah, let's put quite striking. I very much liked the combination of trees and stone and rock. This kind of creates a very, very cool feeling. So let's close that here. Let's go over here and let's start brushing. Again, it's a little bit, it's playing catch up with me. And again, I'm a lot faster if I'm clicking, because then the updates is more.
Now, when we get to the point that we do a biome, which would basically be a collapse of these elements together,
yes,
it? Is it going to take this randomization into account? Is that the ultimate goal eventually, I would imagine?
Yes, exactly. This is exactly. So the point is that we could achieve the same thing if we would give you more options on the brush tool. Like you could define a broader brush that places down things, or we could give you something where you where you basically just brush things. The problem with that is that eventually it would always mean that all those objects are single selectable and they're all written in the database. The idea behind the biome is, if you I don't have a screenshot open, unfortunately, but you all remember how Kayora is doing his maps, so that a forest is not a combination of 100,000 trees glued together, but it is more like an outline shape that has the tree trunks defining that it's a forest, and then it has the tree tops spread across with different variations of colors, and that is a completely different visual approach for forests. So with the biomes, we're going for that direction, which still doesn't stop you from doing your forests that way. It's just a different visual approach of how the biomes could work.
There you go. People are in chat are going absolutely crazy. They're like, "This is absolutely lovely. It's gorgeous. Looks amazing. It looks good for stage 1." So people are really, really, really happy about that.
I honestly, from my side, I was pushing. We had a dev team meeting today, and I was pushing that those maps should finally be loadable, because now I can live with for this stage of development. I can live with lagging brush tools. It's just something that, because you're testing, you know your way around, you work with it. I had a quite big map filled out and fleshed out, and then I did the terrible mistake and clicked on something here, and the application crashed, because that is a guaranteed crash right now if you select something here, and it was gone. And I was like, no, I could have shown that to the audience today, but it's still not loading up. So this is probably something that's going to happen very soon, because it would allow me something different. It would allow me to test how this would work on a broader scale, because I can't draw such a big map in one day. I would need to save it and revisit it the next day and the next day and the next day. And this is part of the testing that we're going to have before we release Alpha 1. But without the saving, and the saving works, the problem is the loading doesn't.
I just have to say, and people in the chat are saying as well, as you're zooming in and out, it's so cool. It's really, really amazing, because that zoom is so smooth as well. I mean,
yeah, it is. And Bodhi was it actually, now that I'm looking at the Zoom call, it's even smoother when I'm looking at it, because you still have a little bit of a streaming lag. Bodhi was sitting next to me when I was drawing the map, and I had this moment where I was like, okay, I think I'm done with that. Let's go out and let's go into this island here. Yeah. And he was like, whoa, that was insane. Can you do this again? Yeah, I feel like, again, from our perspective, we're not finished. This is not, I don't feel confident that to hand that to you right now, because there's still things to do. The preps there shouldn't be this terrible long list of props here. This should be condensed and collected into something like a grouping. Yeah, the brush performance needs to be optimized. But as you can see, in terms of where we are at the tool levels right now, I'm pretty confident that we are really close to Alpha 1 release.
It's looking really, really, really good. I did have another technical question. It didn't have anything to do with the props. That's why but I didn't want to interrupt, because the props are so much fun in terms of all of this process. But when you are creating your continent and you're deleting continents and that sort of thing, if you create a lake with an island in the middle of it, the island becomes a separate entity, doesn't it? At the moment,
yes,
as far as the text
at the moment, but you can group them. You can group the land masses.
Right. Okay. So you could group the land. Yeah. Yeah. So you could actually make a little town now with that selection of multiple houses and things. And
yeah, I can. That's what I'm doing right now.
Did you guys decide on your object placement in terms of foreground and background and that sort of thing? Is that now finalized?
Yeah, it is. There's still glitches. Like I just realized when I was testing it that some of the assets, I can reproduce it. Let me see, because there was this ruin. Yeah, the ruin entrance. When I placed the ruin entrance and then I want to decorate it with rocks, it looks like the ruin entrance, the threshold point where it decides whether it goes back or in front, is not optimal yet. Because if I take that rock and I place it here, that's absolutely fine. But if I want to place it behind, and now it's working. Now it's not. So there are things. Eventually, it's not a problem, because we will not be able to tackle all of those glitches, because they are so dependent. They're not glitches per se, that the way that the prop is working it might not be possible to identify whether or not you wanted to have that in front or in the back. But eventually it's going to be rather simple, because you just select it and sort it and you're happy with it. I'm not going to click there right now, so I feel tempted.
There's a question there that's come through from Shadow Rodney saying, do you have a pop-up mechanic for when DEIOS crashes and you get a chance to say what you were doing just before it was crashing and send it to
Unfortunately, you're not seeing it, but I saw it, or I would see it when I crash the application, I get a little crash reporter where you can decide whether or not you want to send it to us, comment it, post it on wherever we're going to have a place where you can post those crash reports. And it has a complete log of whatever we're just doing, so we can reproduce it.
Lovely. Skulltap asks another question, which we have answered before, but it was in a previous stream. Will the assets have tags for easier searching than needing to know the exact name?
Yes. So for example, there was, it's not implemented yet. I've showed it in the previous stream where I've seen the taggings that I've already started. Right now, if I search for tree, I get everything but my conifers. Because they are named conifer and not tree. But once they have a tag, they will have that. They will be found as well. Also, this area here is dedicated for showing all the tags that are currently in use of your search result. And that allow you then to click on it and trigger a new search based on that one. So I think it's going to be quite intuitive. And we have a lot of tags that I'm constantly adding.
Lovely.
Yes.
And then expanding upon that, I'm going to change the question slightly because I think I can see where the person's going. At the moment, you've got all of the props. They are alphabetized, which is fantastic. But will there be a sort of library option where we can just see categories or the broad tags?
Yes.
So that we might be going, oh, I don't really know what to put there, and you sort of look at the list and you go, oh, desert. A desert might be quite nice, or maybe hills or something.
Yes. What you're seeing right now is only the base pack. So the question is, how do I access all the other packs? Because I feel I'm absolutely with you. I would not, and that is a problem we have in Dungeon Fog right now. I would just be lost with 4,000 different props. They're in one list. I would be just, that would be blocking me because I wouldn't feel like I know where to start looking. So the idea is that we take all those assets. It might be that the base pack is just named base assets, fantasy base assets, for example. We might even break it down to smaller packs where we say this is fantasy medieval forests, whatever. So there is going to be a hierarchy before we get here, where we have a little preview image with all the assets or a collection of the assets that are in there. You can then go in there, select the asset, go back out and go to desert, go into desert and find the stuff there. And the search will go above all of that and gives you a condensed list of all the search results to that specific term. So if I would go in and I would say, let's say, jungle, those 3 or those 4 might be in a pack that's called jungle buildings, whereas those are in a pack that's called jungle flora. But the search result would still give you all the results and not just the one where you're in. And again, we can play around with that. Like I could add filter tags where you say only search in this one or search everywhere. That's just, I think that is going to grow with your feedback.
Absolutely. I can definitely see that as being developmental as more assets get added and the like. Was there anything else that you wanted to show us about the software today, Till? Speaking of assets and things, I mean, is there anything else left with this one, for example, with this map?
Well, yes. I'm not sure, though, if you can really see it in the stream. You will have to tell me. So we have worked on the textures. I can't really tell from here if you can see that we have changed the textures. I think I do have prepped it somewhere else. Let me just quickly. Nope. Well, I can quickly show it to you. So the thing is, as I've told you before, we're using dynamic shaders for the textures, which means that none of the texture that you're seeing here is based on an image. It's just created through shaders, noise shaders specifically. So there is a website out there that's called Shader Toy that allows you to play around with shaders. It's very helpful for me because Bodhi and I and Kiora and I, we spent quite some time sitting there and playing around with it until we found the perfect solution, the perfect shader. Sorry, I'm so bad at multitasking. I can't type and talk at the same
That's
time.
all right. I know the reason why you decided to move to a dynamically shader-based process was because if you were trying to use PNGs or existing imagery, the scaling became a major problem in terms of maintaining clarity and focus, and also not
so the
repetition.
That was the big problem, because if I zoom out, the texture here, it does repeat, but we can address the repetition. We can change it to make sure that it's repeating in a way that we like the style. Same goes for the water texture. So the further you zoom out, the more deep sea dark areas we can bring in there. It's not in that version right now because those are just the basic new textures that I did with Kiora. But you've seen that in a previous build where the more I zoom out, the more dark areas you can see. Now, here again, I feel like it's probably not visible on the stream. So I'm going to close. Are there any questions related to that?
Otherwise, there's a question with regards to, will there be a paint tool in Alpha 1 where you might be able to change the landmass to green or brown or purple, perhaps?
I got you. The answer is no. It is going to be one of the first things that we're going to bring after Alpha 1 launch. But we had this discussion quite often in the office where we decided do we want to make that Alpha 1 too or not? And it kind of ties into the previous question that one of you asked, where can we have a pre-alpha? We need to take ourselves and say, this is Alpha 1. Let's not add more features to it. Let's just release it. And so I made the ruling and I said, brushes will be part of the updates, one of the first updates that's coming after Alpha 1, but it would just add more time to development. And I feel like playing with the landmasses, and again, Alpha 1 is a technical alpha. We want your feedback on how does it work on your PC. We do not really want you to already create maps with it. This is going to be part of the continuous alpha development afterwards. So from our perspective, it's not necessary, it's not vital to have the brushes in there. I do understand that it is vital for you, for every map maker, but it's going to come after Alpha 1, please.
There you are.
Okay.
That's yeah. And then there was a subsequent one, which was, would we be able to do this for water as well? And I suppose that, again, not with Alpha 1. Would we have brushes to brush water?
Oh, sorry. So yeah. That's not dependent on landmass or water. That's just basically in the architecture, where you place it is what parent does it have. If you place it on the stage will have this all the brushes as a parent. Whereas when you place it on a landmass, the landmass will have it as a parent. And there's the edge case that you want to brush from the water over to the landmass, which we just have to keep in mind and make sure that you can have like separate layers, design layers that you can move in the layer list up and down.
And another question that's just popped in, which sort of, I think you've answered already, but with regards to the brushes and things, would we be able to brush over certain assets on the ground and not other assets? So half-berry houses, I suppose. And
again, yes, you could do that by creating we haven't found a clever name for it yet. Let's call it the brush layer. You're creating a separate, or let's call it an empty layer. You're creating an empty layer here because I'm clicking on it. Let's see what happens. Oh, it's created a new layer. Nice. So you can create an empty layer, and then you decide what you put onto that. And if you're just putting brushes onto that, this would mean that you could take this layer and sort it here and make sure that it is above that one prop that you want to probably conceal to some extent, but it's not affecting the others that might be above or below. Well, it might affect everything below. but it's not affecting everything above that prop.
Perfect. Lovely. I think that's
yes. So if we're done with that, I just wanted to show you. This is the tool we're using. That's ShaderToy. This is where we're creating, or this is where Kiara and I have been playing around with the shader settings. And it's still not really visible for you, I assume, but I can quickly change it because I can change the visibility here to 28 and 24 and compile it. And now you're going to see that the way that you can see all those little ink blots that are finding its way in there. And if I do the same thing with the water, I'm just putting numbers in there. I need to make that a lot more visible. 5 and 5. You have the time in your eyes, right? I feel like.
Yes, I'm watching the time. Don't worry. We've got a few minutes left. Got a few minutes left.
So I've changed it now quite drastically so that you can see what we're doing here. We have generated a shader that emulates or mimics ink stains and wet water, and we're very softly applying it to the general texture. There's another one in there that is creating noise. Let's make this 0, 0, 0. Now it's going to be perfectly black. There you go. So this is basically, what I can make it bigger for you. So this is what we're doing to create that shader and play around with it, which gives us the opportunity to give you a lot of sliders and color options where you can play around with all those varieties in the tool. It would technically also allow us to give you the opportunity to write your own shaders if you are into something like that, and plug it in, because it is specifically built in a way that it can work in ShaderToys, which means you could build your shader in ShaderToys and then port it over into Project DEIOS, import it there and use it as a shader, which kind of resembles the way that you can use patterns or brush tips in Photoshop. So it is something that we keep in mind when we're developing that.
Lots of questions popped in on that one. Will there be tutorials provided by the team, or will there be need for a community source-based tutorial, says Slayer of 666?
When it comes to the writing your own shaders, I could picture Andy that he would love to do some tutorials on that. I feel like there will be a documentation from our side because you will need to use variables that our system can understand. So there is going to be a slide documentation from our side. But I feel like the in-depth part will be community-based. Probably Andy will speak up and say, no, I would love to do that. Then Andy can do something on that. I hope that answers your question.
There you are. And then, yes, another person, Elias Vernieri, says community shaders, a collection of shaders developed by the community would be great.
That's the idea behind that. Because I like the idea also a lot. I feel like this is, when you look at the shaders that are used or created in ShaderToys, there's a lot of stuff that we can't use. I mean, that's brilliant, but that is something different. But there are, I feel like I remember if I make paper.
Some good news on the tutorials. We've actually started making tutorial videos as well.
Yes, we did. We have. And together with the new website and the new help desk that's coming out, there's also coming out the new tutorials, which are produced by the ever great game master, who by now has already grown beyond my capabilities of map making. So yeah, you have quite some really good tutorials there. I don't find any nice. All of this is written in ShaderToys. Like if you feel you would like to do something like that on your Landmasters, it might be possible. But the idea is go to shadedtoys.com, shadedtoy.com, and search for it, play around with it. It's not going to be alpha or probably not even close beta material, but it is something that we keep in mind. And I talked to Andy and he said, well, it is to some extent work to implement it, but it's not majorly big. So it's going to find its way into Project DEIOS eventually. And there we go. Yeah.
Fantastic. Till we have actually run out of time.
In that case, let me just quickly. No, I don't want to go yet. Just a quick preview.
That's right.
This hopefully Thursday, probably Friday. There's so much work piling up on my desk. I still need to figure out when I can make those Dungeon Fog suitable. But this is the new asset pack that Tony sent me today, where he said, look, this is the Riverlands asset pack. And there's still some feedback necessary, so I will talk and work with it with Tony tomorrow. But I think there's some quite interesting new assets there that will find its way into Dungeon Fog on Thursday, or if worst case, Friday, because then it has to be live.
Absolutely. You know, it's so funny, folks. I'm going to share a little behind the scenes here, because hopefully I can't get fired. I sit with Till and we write the script for this the day before, usually. And I say to Till, can I give him a date? Can I give him a date? Can I give him a date? And Till's like, no, we don't want to give them a date. We don't want to give them times because I've made mistakes in the past, and let's keep it. So in my script it says, so Till, tell me about the map asset pack, which will be released sometime in the next week. And then Till starts talking, and he forgets all of that. And he starts giving you Thursday, maybe Friday. It's like...
Well, anyway, wait,
because it's enthusiasm and it's passion, and that's what we love. That's what we love.
So our asset packs usually are released around the 25th. Now today, the 25th it's just full with prepping with prepping the stream and all the stuff. So Tony knows that, I know that, our staff knows that. At the end of the month, we're always releasing a new asset pack. I know that I have been, last week I have been on vacation with my family. So my email folders are piling up with stuff, and everything is still waiting to be done. So it's a question of priorities. Tomorrow, I hopefully have the time to create all the Dungeon Fog appropriate versions out of that and upload it. I'm not sure if those tiles will find their way in, to be honest, because this, I think, could be achieved through drawing with Dungeon Fog. And I'm not sure if I want to have a tile-based system in Dungeon Fog yet. But all of this will find its way in there, and we will make cool battlement props that you can place on your walls. So this is work in progress, but this is where the new Riverland asset pack is going for. Yeah, there you are.
There you are. All right. Well, from a very little me and a very big Till, thank you all for participating and watching, and for the questions that were coming through, as well as to the comments. Remember, if you do have any further questions for the Dungeon Fog team, you can find them on Discord. I know that Boaty's in the chat, so if you can share up that Discord link again, please, that would be fantastic. You can find that in the chat. And yeah, it is what it is. We've got to another end of another month, and can you believe it?
Yes.
This was our 12th episode. It's been a year of mapping it out.
And what a year it was for now.
Yeah, what a year. No one could have predicted what happened this year. No one.
No.
Anyway,
just a quick reminder, the transcript and the short summary of the stream I will write tomorrow as well. I will put it together with the charts and the images. They will go online on the Kickstarter updates for Project DEIOS, and we will add, I think Thomas and Herbert are going to do that tomorrow. They will add an appropriate link and update on your DEIOS account manager. So if you're looking for the summary, or if you're looking for specifics, if you want to rewatch all of that, just check out the Kickstarter update, YouTube, and your DEIOS account manager.
There we go. Well, then, from me and Till and everybody else at the Dungeon Fog Studios, I wish you and yours the very happiest of map making. Goodbye.
Bye.